All right, let's get some analysis on this. Faisal Kutty is a human rights activist as well as a law professor. He joins me now from Ontario in Canada. Faisal, good to have you on the show. We just heard there in Liz Maddox's news package the mayor of London referring to this act as mass murder. Yes, but besides this, the fact of the matter is that these were innocent human beings that were killed, that were targeted simply because they were Muslim. I mean, is this just another example of Islamophobia in Western countries on the rise?
Definitely. What you're seeing is the reality versus perception in Canada. Canada is seen to be this racist-free, Islamophobic-free country. Unfortunately, as we saw with the gruesome findings of 215 children recently, Indigenous children killed. Racism has deep roots here in this country. And when it comes to Islamophobia, we have seen the rise in Islamophobia over the last few years. Since 9/11, politicians, media pundits, and some fake news journalists have basically sown the seeds of what we are reaping today, where they have created the dangerous Muslim man and the imperiled Muslim woman who needs to be rescued while the dangerous Muslim man needs to be controlled. That's the narrative that's been sown, and we see the results of it today. And I don't say this lightly, because if you see what's happening in Canada, in the last 5 years, there have been two mass killings of Muslims for their identity. And they both have happened in Canada, not the US, not somewhere else, in Canada. So this is something that people should be concerned about. This is the mosque shooting in 2017 in Quebec, and now this London killing. So we can see that there's something seriously wrong, but unfortunately at the political level, there's denial. When in 2016, MP Ikra Khalid tried to pass a motion, a non-binding symbolic motion to study whether Islamophobia is an issue, 91 members of parliament, including the sitting leader of the Conservative Party today, Aaron O'Toole, voted against that motion. Okay, so there's denial, unfortunately, and we need to address this issue in Canada for sure.
So you say this is a story about sort of perception versus reality, a story between the narration pushed by Western media and the reality. As a law professor, I want to ask you this, because I want to find out a little bit more. It seems there is a very different picture south of the border in the United States. When you see these types of acts, hate crimes against Muslims, very rarely are they charged with on charges of domestic terrorism. Justin Trudeau has said this is an act of terrorism. How do you think the charges and the case will proceed?
I believe that terrorism charges will be, it's very unlikely that terrorism charges will be brought, because the onus shifts to the prosecution to establish certain elements which are much more difficult to establish. And as your newscaster said, it doesn't really add anything to the sentencing. So, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to prove those offenses. So, but what happens is when it comes to Muslims who commit terrorism, of course, to convey this perception of this fear of the dangerous Muslim man, even though they could be charged with another offense, what ends up happening is they get charged with terrorism. So many of us are against the use of terrorism laws to prosecute any of these crimes. But if you're going to use it against Muslims, then you must also use it against these individuals who are terrorizing a community. You can't say in one context it's difficult to pursue terrorism charges, but in another case, it's difficult, but we're just going to use that label to sully and to defame an entire community. Meanwhile, effectively in court may not really mean much.
All right, Faisal Kutty, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Some very good points that you make there, I do appreciate your time and your analysis here on the NewsHour. Thank you.